Well, the summer's big show, Summerslam, comes up this Sunday from the Staples Center again in Los Angeles, California. And it goes without saying, even though I'm going to say it again, that this is a critically important show for the WWE. They really need SummerSlam 2014 to deliver. They really need to make a statement here, to help them in terms of the WWE network, getting current subscribers to resubscribe when their 6-month time frame is up, getting potentially new people to subscribe. This SummerSlam show is a critical point in time and a critical moment for the WWE. And I think in their approach in general towards SummerSlam, you could see just how important this is in the big picture and even the smaller picture for the company right now. Now, instead of talking about each individual match and giving predictions and everything else, I just want to give you some general thoughts on my perspective heading into SummerSlam 2014, the good, some of the bad, and then kind of like an overall feeling of how the show might turn out. Let's be positive from the beginning and talk about some of the good for the WWE with this SummerSlam 2014 card. And I think when you look, there are actually several things that you can look at that are encouraging, that are positive. First thing for me, and this is a big one, that every match has a story, every match on the card has a purpose. And not only that, it appears they've got, I think 8 matches on the card. You've got a full match card, and pretty much every match that's on there has a reason for happening. It has a story that is at least attempted, some better than others, mind you, to get me emotionally invested in what's going on. So there's a reason to anticipate the match between the participants on the show Sunday. That's a tremendous thing. That's a really good thing. And I applaud the WWE for doing this. They also have multiple feuds involving the Divas. Hey, if you're going to have a Divas division, why sit there and restrict yourself to just having one feud over the title? You have 2 feuds featuring Divas and 2 feuds that have been spotlighted in a big way, with Paige and AJ Lee feuding over the Divas title, and then of course Brie Bella and Stephanie McMahon and their whole feud. If you're a fan of the Divas and you want to see the women be used better or more properly, in your opinion, in the WWE, this has to be an encouraging sign. Multiple feuds involving Divas. One involving the championship that has been emphasized and has some history and reason and purpose for it happening, and then the even more important match in theory between Brie and Stephanie. And you've also got newer faces in some big spots here, which is what you should have when you're trying to transition to a new era and create new stars. You've got newer faces in big spots on one of your signature Big 4 shows, your big show of the summer. You've got Roman Reigns facing off against Randy Orton. You've got Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose on one of the real marquee matches for this show. You've got Bray Wyatt facing off against a future Hall of Famer in Chris Jericho. Some new, fresh faces, some guys that are probably going to be the flag bearers for your company potentially for years to come. And they're in big spots and big moments here on this big summer show. I also think it's good that the WWE is following up on ending The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania. You did it. Now you got to make the most out of it. You got to make the best out of it. And while I will never agree with the decision, I will say the WWE at least needs to say everything that they can, or do everything that they can possible to justify their decision, to get the maximum return on that, frankly, over 2+ decade investment in The Undertaker, his character, and most importantly of all, the streak. And now by having Brock Lesnar, the guy who ended the streak, be the one to sit there and face off against the WWE World Heavyweight Champion at SummerSlam is a very good way to follow up on that. You're tying WrestleMania into SummerSlam. And I also look at this card too, and I see the potential for several potentially really good matches. Miz versus Ziggler for the IC title. These guys seem to have good chemistry in the ring, and I would trust these guys to go out there and have a decent IC title match. Paige versus AJ could have not just a good Divas title match, but just a good match in general, especially if they are given time and they have a good structure in terms of what they're trying to tell the story in their match. Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho has the potential to be really damn good, and hopefully it will be much better than their match at the last pay-per-view. Ambrose and Rollins, so much history, so much story. I think the styles of the wrestlers complement each other very well. You throw in the fact it's a lumberjack match, and you have the potential to have a really, really compelling, really good wrestling match. You know, something that we've been wanting to see for a while. Something that the WWE said, we're going to give it to you, but then we're not. We're going to make you wait a little bit longer. It was really good. And even Lesnar and Cena. You go back to Extreme Rules 2012. What I really liked about that match, even though the finish was ridiculous to me, is the fact that the match felt different. It felt like a hybrid of several different things. And when I look at Lesnar and Cena, I anticipate that they could have a good match themselves. And hey, you have a good world title match to close out your big show of the summer. You could do a lot worse than that. And trust me, over the years, the WWE has done worse than that with a lot of SummerSlams for sure. But like I said, there are a lot of good things heading into SummerSlam, a lot of potential signs of encouragement, things to be optimistic about. But then on the flip side, there are some bad things too that really concern me about SummerSlam heading into the show this Sunday. First off, it's been kind of glaring to me the fact that there's no CM Punk, there's no Daniel Bryan. These are two characters that the WWE's invested a lot of time in over the past couple of years, and now two of your bigger stars over the past couple of years aren't on your big show of the summer. It shows. It does show. I don't care what anybody says. I think the WWE's done a good job of trying to give us a solid card in spite of that, but you're missing some star power on the show, especially you're talking about a guy in Daniel Bryan who main evented WrestleMania 30, ended the show as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and now here at SummerSlam, your third of the big four shows for the year, and he's not even on the show at all. And then, CM Punk, he hasn't been around since the freaking Royal Rumble. Not to mention that, no Usos, at least at this point, at the time I'm recording it, no Bo Dallas, no Cesaro. These are guys that have gotten television time over the past several months. How could you not find a way to get them involved on your big show of the summer, especially the Usos being the tag champions? And why sit there and give up on Bo Dallas and his character and his streak for no damn reason? And then Cesaro, you aligned him with Heyman. Now he's dropped with Heyman, and now everybody in the company seems to have gotten bored with him, so it's back to Cesaro jobbing out and being irrelevant again. That sucks. I also look at the show and I say, yeah, every match has a story or a purpose, but that doesn't mean, from my perspective anyways, that that's all that great, because several of these feuds I have very little to no interest in whatsoever. Like Wyatt Jericho, I have zero interest in at this point. Brie Bella versus Stephanie McMahon, zero interest in. Your WWE World Heavyweight Championship match, Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, really no interest in it. So some of these big marquee matches, especially in the case of Brie and Stephanie and Lesnar Cena, perhaps your two marquee of marquee matches on the show, I could give two shits less about. So from my perspective, that's a bad thing. These are your big bunny matches. These are your franchise matches for the show, your big show of the summer, and I don't care. I also look at the last couple of weeks of Raw. Personally, my opinion, I thought the shows were terrible, and I thought they did a bad job of ramping up excitement and anticipation for SummerSlam. And, it's one thing to sit there and say, well, you lower the bar and lower expectations. That way, when you exceed those low expectations, it comes across a lot better than it is. But, WWE to me couldn't be in that position. They really needed to deliver here, and they really need to get you amped up and get you to really feel like this was a big deal. Really feel that this felt like a SummerSlam. And I think the last couple of weeks they really dropped the ball on this. And I also look at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. Yes, like I said, they are following up on the streak ending. For the WWE standpoint, they've got Cena in the main event. So it's a win-win-win all the way around. Just do it for them. But to me, there really are no winners when it comes to that match. Because if Brock Lesnar wins, you're talking about potentially a guy that's a part-time champion. And, people didn't like when The Rock was a part-time champion, but now it's okay if Lesnar is, because Lesnar beat John Cena. And then on the flip side, if Cena beats Lesnar here on Sunday, he beats the guy that beat the streak at WrestleMania. If he does that, then why fucking end the streak? And what the hell's the whole point? And if Cena wins, that means he's still the champion. And then who the fuck could really ever beat this guy? Like I said, even though he technically already is in the way his character is and how it's presented, but John Cena becomes the ultimate heel if that's the case. And like I said, there's just, to me, I don't see any real good that can come out of that WWE World Heavyweight Championship match on Sunday, and that's the main event. That's supposed to be the big money match. So I have some concerns, needless to say, about this show on Sunday. A couple of things of note, just to give you my closing thoughts. I don't understand why Dean Ambrose would choose to have a lumberjack match as a stipulation. Why would you not try and get the briefcase from Seth Rollins? That was kind of stupid to me. In terms of Miz and Ziggler, why did they pretty much just have Miz on Raw at least, specifically only do commentary, it seemed like, during Ziggler matches? You've done better in the past with Miz as your mid-card champion, and I would expect and demand a little bit better out of him, especially because that belt can be used to create more layers to your programming and eventually could be used to help create new stars. Like I said, with some of the good things going into this, the fact that several of these matches look like they could potentially deliver and deliver in a very nice way, the fact that every match on this show has a story and has a purpose to it. If you're a fan of the Divas, it's got multiple Divas feuds, and these feuds, in a lot of ways, a lot of them feel different. I'm just not that excited about this show on Sunday. And I think maybe that's because several of these feuds I have little to zero interest in, especially perhaps the two marquee feuds with Bray and Stephanie and Lesnar Cena for the title. Maybe that's the case. And hopefully once SummerSlam begins on Sunday, I'll get into the flow of the show. The WWE will get off to a good start with the show. It'll have a good flow to it. It'll be presented well. And I'll start to, ramp up in my excitement level and anticipation as the night goes along and I find myself really enjoying the show. I think that could happen. But then I also look at this on the flip side and I say, this could end up being a kind of sort of forgettable SummerSlam. As no matter how much anybody will try and sit there and try and spin me and say this was great and this was great and this was great, I could be sitting there and saying, oh, wow, what? Stephanie hasn't wrestled in fucking forever, and we put her in one of the feature matches so that way, what, maybe Nikki could freaking turn heel on her, because that's what I want to see, a Bella versus Bella feud. Or get a surprise appearance by Daniel Bryan. If he's not wrestling, I don't give a shit. It's just Ambrose Rollins, lumberjack match. The stipulation of the match I thought was kind of dumb. Reigns versus Orton. It's a match that could deliver and could mean big things for Roman Reigns, but it could also be a real slow stinker that, changes some people's perspectives about Roman Reigns a little bit. I have a lot of concerns about this show Sunday, and I hope the WWE pulls this off, and I hope the WWE delivers. But, as so often the case with the company, I reserve the right to be cynical until proven otherwise, and they've got a lot to prove to me with this show this weekend.